goal when I entered undergrad. And that wasn't my goal the entire time that I worked with the journal and with North Star reports, but it did help me think about how people learn things and how things are taught and how important that is, and that I was always very interested in history, but I didn't really like my history courses until I had a couple of good ones in high school, and then coming to school as a non-traditional student, in that large gap in between, I studied a lot on my own, but I didn't really like the way that it was taught to me, and it did seem very abstract and just distant. And to think about how all of those things tie together, that there is that common thread in global studies. You can see how culture is connected to law, is connected to economics, is connected to public health, and it all makes sense. But to look at that as this is a way to approach that, and that this is something that you should start learning about when you're in middle school, and that you should keep learning about after you've graduated. So for me, that focus on education has really helped me as a student, and just thinking about eventually whatever you do, how you're going to communicate that to other people, and how you're going to convey your field, your information to someone else.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and I will say that I'm interested in education, and that was a huge aspect for me, how we're making those connections that don't usually exist. So.
And I think, as much as this is a, something that helps students from the area, from Minnesota, from, around the world to read and to learn, also it's a very, it can help writers as well. And for me, wanting to go into journalism, published articles and work is important, and this gives great flexibility in getting something that I might want in the future, published where it might not fit elsewhere, or it might not fit in the campus paper for that kind of audience or that kind of subject, but for the Middle Ground Journal it might be perfect. And so, and it's not just for wanting to go into journalism. You can have writing samples for any number of things you want to go into and find it useful.
Mm-hmm. And I think when you have to edit pieces, you realize how much your own voice and your own style sometimes colors your biases. And I think looking at a variety of different pieces forces you to appreciate those other styles more and to kind of expand your writing repertoire. But at the same time, you become more aware of what makes a strong piece, like what details you have to have, or just the idea, or sometimes just reality. You can be reading a piece and you have absolutely no background knowledge, and how do you like introduce that to readers? Mm-hmm. And applying those skills has helped immensely in my other classes, and it's made me much more. It's forced me to focus a lot more on the writing process when it's come to academic articles or research papers, and like in other courses, and I feel like the quality has gone up with a big part thanks to the Middle Ground Journal.
Well, I guess at the risk of sounding repetitive, I'd like to reiterate some points that either I said earlier or that others said earlier in response to this question, that I think one of the central strengths of the Middle Ground is that it allows people to have a platform for their own interests, and that's maybe the way that it helped me the most, that I was able to write more about China and about my own interest in it and try to introduce that to other people, and that forced me to, I guess, think more deeply about what I had experienced already, think about how I could communicate those experiences to other people in a way that's understandable without my background. How could people approach this and find it interesting or useful? Also, another one of the things that I really like is just the diversity and interconnectedness of every piece that comes into the Middle Ground. It's connects different time periods, different places, different disciplines, and that's really a strong reminder that nothing is truly fully isolated. There are all these connections that unite things that are seemingly disparate, and I think that's especially, I guess that's this feeling that things are disconnected from one another, or there's not a larger picture, was something maybe I had a stronger idea I had about Duluth. I was born here, grew up here, went to college here ultimately, so I spent a lot of time here, and I kind of thought of it as its own separate entity. I realized there were international connections, but I didn't reflect very deeply on them, and the middle ground provided an outlet for that, provided a means of more fully exploring those connections.
And one thing I would like everyone to discuss, just a little bit, as we are talking about a transition period where a lot of people who have been really deeply involved in the journal are sort of stepping back for one reason or another, temporarily, I'm sure. And other people are going to be, sort of picking up our slack. How are you? Well, sort of taking the helm and going into what will be another era defined by the people who put the work in. So sort of what your expectations were going in and where you see it going, or how you would like to contribute to it in the future.
I guess my expectations going in was I had the goal of writing an article once per semester about whatever it is. I'm a pretty hometown person. I haven't been around and traveled the world, and so I've found a lot of new things to write about, because recently I've done a lot of new things. It's my first time leaving the country, first time seeing the ocean, being on a plane. All of those things were this year, so I have a lot of things that I can reflect on and think about and write about. When I was asked to take on... Yep.
I'm going to make a point of remembering what you were saying, too. So that
I
we
got
can...
it.
I think overall this is working out better, even temperature-wise.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking, it's still too hot, but gosh, think if we were doing this downstairs.
Oh.
Seriously.
I should probably...
Brutal there.
And we have to go up and close the windows. We're not supposed to leave them open, but...
That's the nice part about spring semesters, because there's not really it's never too warm and
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the opposite, but fall semester, it's rough during September.
Yeah.
My grandma told me to give you a hug, but I'm not that kind of person. But
Oh.
so just so you know, she gives you a hug.
Oh, cute. You don't do stranger proxy hugs?
No.
I understand.
I'm not even over the fact that my boyfriend's parents hug me, and we've been dating for almost 2 years. I just
We're Scandinavian.
Yeah.
Aren't we supposed to be cold, unfriendly?
I just
don't
actually,
like to touch?
2 weeks ago, read an article that said of all the countries in the world, the United States are the least touchy
Huh.
in all ways.
Really? Like I have a friend from Korea, and she just moved back to Seoul, but she was saying she was here while her husband was doing his graduate work at UMD, and that the joke about every Korean who studies in the U.S. and then goes back is that all of a sudden they're very touchy, because you just do not go around like,
Sure.
kind of touching shoulders or, hugging when you see people or any of that. It's just, no. And then in other ways, like people will hold hands a lot more. Every place has kind of its set of
Yeah.
thing. But that's the joke, is that you come back from the U.S. being like, really no boundaries. So, I don't know if it works maybe not in Duluth.
Yeah, maybe not here.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it is only recently that apparently I have become aware of that, because I never considered myself like a
Standoffish,
Like
frigid, horrible.
Sure, I wasn't gonna say anything that bad, but
Those words
That
have
wasn't being
negative
recorded, so it didn't
connotations.
I was
happen.
just
Really
gonna
negative
say, I didn't
connotations.
know how large my bubble space was.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought it was much smaller than it
So
is.
this
Yeah.
must be really uncomfortable for you.
No, this is fine.
There's an acceptable
You got the
amount of
big-
space
yeah,
here.
you guys got the big.
No, it's fine.
I'm just kidding.
I just don't like the awkward like half hugs, rub your arm,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like, I
That's
haven't
terrible
seen
when
you
you're
in
like,
over a year. Stop
We
touching
haven't
me.
done this. I don't know you. What's the
Right. That is so awkward when you think someone's going in for a hug and you try to hug them and they
Yeah.
weren't. You're like,
Mhm.
Well, see, and I feel like
There's no way out. No.
no, I'm just hugging you now.
I feel like
Here it
it's not very universal for me. It's just like if I meet you right away and right away there is some sort of contact established, it's not a big deal. But if I've known you for a year and all of a sudden one day you decide to hug
No,
me, I'm
yeah,
like,
sure.
what? Like, plot twist. I
What is
don't-
the meaning of this?
I'm not that, like, I'm not dramatic about it. Like, I hug him back every time. It's just that then we're in the car and he goes, so they hugged you again. And I was like, yeah, I know.
It was that 2-year mark. No, you're just in the hugging zone.
Yeah, I just have to accept the hugs.
Psych yourself up for it.
They have it marked on their calendar.
Hug
Taylor.
Well, it was just so funny because I came home, because I went down there for New Year's and stayed for like a week or maybe even 2. And when I came home, I was like, Mom, I've hugged Steven's parents more than I've hugged you this year. And it was just kind of funny.
My stepmom still kisses me on the lips.
Oh,
Only person. But yeah, she does every time I see her. Hello and goodbye. That just-
My grandma,
weird.
my grandma still does, like, if I'm at her house, if I'm eating, she'll come, like, take food right off my plate, or, like, she's super, and then my other grandma's that, like, exact opposite, like,
Right.
she's like,
Put
I'll
your
sit on
napkin
this
on your
chair,
lap."
and you sit on that one over there, and we'll talk.
All right, this is low on battery now, so
I
Okay.
will keep it
Make it
concise.
quick.
Yeah. And no promises on how long it'll
Sure.
last.
So, coming into the North Star reports, I kind of just expected to be writing. I was excited when I was offered an editing position, and I was actually really busy at the time, so I turned it down temporarily and said, you know, give me a call in a few months and I'll say yes, I promise. And so since now I'm just getting involved, I'm kind of new, but I do have a few ideas. So some things that I think are things that I want to work on, and probably just through a personal level for now, is sort of creating some sort of call to action in the articles I write. Like, not just writing you and telling you something, but giving people an idea of something that they can do, whether that's explore their own family history, get out and do volunteer work, or just, you know, think about a concept that they see every day in a new way. Just creating some sort of something that takes them beyond reading this article, that when you X out of the browser, it's over and done with. And another thought that I had is just obviously recruiting more people. I know Professor Lang works on that all the time, but I've just been trying to connect with people from different backgrounds than me, different colleges, different locations and histories, all kinds of stuff like that, just to see if they're interested and tell them about what I write about, and, you know, give them suggestion and just encourage them to come be involved.
Got you in there
I got something
though.
out, yeah.
I don't know about this.
I'm good, that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, that's good.
yeah,
No,
it's
Okay,
not gonna
we're
let
done.
me get to video again.
Well, it will be visually interesting if we just have the whole conclusion from that one.
Sure.
I don't know. Or I can grab the other camera too.
It's up to
Or
you.
Is it
Yeah.
battery or memory card?
It's
Battery.
it's battery. Yeah, it won't.
Can you
Once it
can't-
gets to a certain point, it won't film if it's low on battery.
Yeah. Will it let you run it while it's charging or no? You have to pull the battery to charge it.
That might. I've never tried it. I don't have the cord, but I bet.
Oh.
I bet it's just the USB.
Okay. I have. Actually, I have a Nikon too, so probably.
Yeah.
How hot it is maybe like
Yeah, it's hot.
I will mention that I have to skedaddle soon.
What
I
time
actually
is it?
nanny at 12, which was an hour ago, but didn't
Oh,
know I was
yeah.
gonna be late.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Is it 1 already?
will that work?
Oh,
5 to
I have
1,
my
yeah.
computer, I can plug it in.
I'll just have to go out, like, I was gonna meet the Russian
think it
students, say goodbye quick, and I think I got a present for them, and she said she got a present for me, so, present swap.
No.
No. Do you need, that's mini USB, do you need like a?
So did you just see that my grandma was on my Facebook or like that?
No.
She was our mutual friend.
Charged
Oh,
it
no,
last night.
yeah, I saw, like, I
Video.
think there was
Yeah,
a
we
were
mutual
putting
friend
it through
thing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wait a sec,
Is that the
Jerry, like,
connection, do you think?